G'day guys, welcome back to another As I See It. Today we're talking about the LS002G compound miter saw by Makita. That is going to be our focus today. We're going to have a bit of a chat in detail. Hopefully I should bore you quite deeply and you'll fall asleep. Otherwise, look, we're going to find out whether it's a pants downable tool or not a pants downable tool. Let's have a chat about the Makita 40 volt compound miter saw. Righto guys, so this is the miter saw right here. Now there's quite a few features. I'm going to do a quick little pack down on how I take the saw on and off. Now this is it fully kind of set up, I guess, depending on what materials you're cutting, what you're doing. This is kind of a bit of a standard go-to for me for setup. But yeah, the wings clip in, the wings can actually come out as well if they want. We'll slide those back in for you. We'll lock them away. Alright, there's a little wing nut on the back. Little wing nut on the back. These little side panels, they slide in, alright, and they lock just down with these little lugs here, alright, that's what that locks those little sides in too. Alright, with the saw itself, okay, it's a compound miter saw, so sliding compound miter saw. So when people talk about compound miters, it's normally a multiple angle cut, okay, so you can put it on a bevel and you can put it on an angle and you can do the same cut, do the cut with having to do two separate cuts, if that kind of makes sense. So, to lock the blade down, basically I push the blade down all the way. Alright, I normally push it all the way back. I lock the rail first, entirely up to you which way you roll with it. And then I come around the other side, keeping the blade down, I lock the back of the blade. And therefore the blade sits at its lowest possible profile, or it needs to, and then the rail sits so it doesn't move around. All depending on what you guys do. I prefer to actually kick this all the way around to the 60. So whether you go this side or the other side, it's entirely up to you. And then I tension it back up again just with the knob. So I try and keep the latch unlocked, alright, because this is something that someone's told me or I noticed it a little while back, is that these little notches here for your lock-in points on your saw, so when you spin your saw around, so it locks into the 0, we come across to 15, you pull it up again, it won't lock, and there it locks into that. So these little notches here, you want to try and keep them as tight and as nice as possible. Therefore, by traveling with this saw in this lock position, moving it around, I think I'm fairly confident over time these little notches will grow out and become bigger. So yeah, I always try and keep that lever down if I'm transporting it, and I do it up with a knob at the back. Alright, then simply with this saw stand and stuff, it's got two clips at the back for the handles. Take it off and I carry my saw using the side and the base plate. Okay, I don't normally carry my saw in the handle. It's a personal preference. Sometimes I go by handle, but 9 times out of 10, pretty much always, I've always got it from the side of the base. And I find that I feel a better carrying capacity on it. I feel stronger holding it that way. Yeah, I don't feel less likely to swing things around and drop it and stuff like that. The thing with the handle is that's a lot of pressure to put on basically all your workings, your pinions, all that sort of stuff. Your bevel as well, like there's a fair bit going on up here. Pulling that and putting the extra weight to the base plate probably isn't like fantastic. It is designed for it, they designed it that way, but yeah, I've always tried to make sure I lift my saw from a base plate. Okay, so let's do a quick reinstate it. So we're just going to put it straight back onto the saw bench here. Now these are great. I love these clips and setups. It makes it so much easier to put your saw on. Just clip it to the point where it locks in place. It doesn't go anywhere. You can move the saw on the stand if you want. Same deal, undo the knob, I slide it across to always go back to my 0, pull my lever up, get it in that lock position, tension it up, okay? Then unlock my blade, motor up, compound slide going, job done. Put my outriggers out, put my bagards out if I need to, and then away you go. Probably one of the cool things, and something that we will talk about a little bit later on about a bit of a downside of it, is this bevel. Okay, so your bevel adjustment. So the controls on the saw are mostly on the front, which is kind of nice. So you've got a knob at the front, and that allows you to rotate your saw left, right. So you get the angles that you need. You go to 60, go to 60 on this side, 60 on that side, you know, hunky-dory, which isn't too bad. That's pretty cool. All right, same deal. You got your notches to lock it in. It makes it more defined as to where you go. The bevel, however, is this control here. So this control here you just need to undo, all right? And then your bevel pivots to the left, all right? But it stops. You can't take it to the right. Why can't you take it to the right? Because there's actually a locking pin. So to unlock it, you need to pull this one out, all right? So this little lever here down the bottom, all right, pull that lever out and it rotates round to the right, okay? Whenever you're doing any bevel cuts, please be mindful of where your guards are and your fences, because these little bad boys can be in the wrong spot at the wrong time. You can actually notch it out, as you can see has happened here. And even with your standard miter angles, you can actually lose sections of your fence. We won't talk about who's done that or why that's happened. We'll just move forward with this as I see it. Love you guys. Something else to point out is the depth gauge is on this side, okay? So it's a simple matter of flicking this little lever back or forth as to whether you want the depth gauge engaged. So as you can see, it's an adjustment, all right? Rotate up and down, okay? Bring it up, bring it down. If you want to go to full depth, slide it across, line up your hole. This is also the point where your blade, the depth of your blade goes in, okay? So there is an adjustment Allen key here, okay, which sets that depth. All right, as to how far your blade goes into your actual saw bench as well. Righto, some extra features as well we have up on the handle here. Okay, you can see there's your Bluetooth, so that's for your AWS. Okay, that's your, I can't remember what AWS stands for. You have to forgive me, I will do the research and I'll put it up on the top of the screen. All right, so you got your AWS, you got your vacuum button. Okay, so manually turn on your vacuum if you want. You've also got a light as well. Okay, now that light is for the shadow line. Now the shadow line on this saw is pretty much bang on. It really is an impressive saw. I'm a big fan of the shadow line on this, and I do enjoy using it a fair bit. Righto, let's have a little bit of a chat about the dust extraction on this saw. Now, I've pulled it out just to sort of make things a bit clearer here. I don't have a battery in, so I'm trying to keep things nice and safe. I was talking before with the battery in, but anyway, you'll love me for that, okay? It's okay. Right, so there's a little rubber piece here, okay, for the base of the saw, just underneath, with saw tips fly in. And there's also another piece up here, another piece of rubber where the blade is. Now, the bulk of the suction is from the top piece, okay, and then this little bottom piece here is kind of, well, yeah, disappointing, really, in the scheme of things. So I'm guessing they're trying to catch the smaller particles, but as you can see, as the saw goes in further, all right, the top one, the main one, gets smaller because it catches, the main one catches on the bottom one and it gets smaller. Therefore, you're relying on the bottom suction to suck out more. So I don't know whether that should have been the other way around or how they should have done that, but I think it's a little bit disappointing, the dust extraction on this saw, and that's one of the downsides I think that needs to be mentioned here, I think, and something that I feel Makita can genuinely improve on is improving the suction capabilities, the dust extraction capabilities of these saws. Okay. I don't know what the other ones are. There's two other versions of this saw, the bigger size ones, other two models. So yeah. Okay, so to remove your dust extraction hose, simply remove the top piece. All right, that just slides out. There's a little button clip on the side of that, as you can see there. All right, and then you rotate it towards the back of the saw. Okay, and then it clips out. So there's two lugs on this. All right. Now those two lugs, okay, are to line up on this little plastic piece here. Now, be mindful, this fills up with gunk fairly easily, okay? So if you need to blow this out on a regular basis, I certainly recommend that you do, especially if you have this off and you're gonna put it back on again. This section will be full of sawdust or aluminium shavings or whatever's going on, so yeah. So you got the big and the little, line up the big and the little, and you're actually rotating back towards the saw to lock it in, all right? And then you pick up this other piece, spin it around, lock it in the back of the saw, job done. Your dust extraction's back on. Righto guys, so I've spun the saw around, just so we can have a bit of a chat a bit more about the dust extraction again. Now we spoke about pulling it on and off just before, all right? But something I think you need to be mindful is these saws come with a little paper bag, a little cloth bag. Now, don't underestimate this little cloth bag. Once you've got that hooked onto the saw and the saw's pumping into it, it fills it. Like, I've had this bag absolutely chockers and had to empty it out. I'm genuinely impressed with how they've designed these. Sure, it's not full particle dust extraction, if that kind of makes sense, but it does catch a lot of the mess and waste and stuff, as opposed to having it just shoot out the back, fly around in the air, that sort of thing. So it helps you keep the job site a little bit cleaner. All right, so you can't put this on here though. It doesn't go on that piece. So you've actually got to pull your plastic and your hose off, pull your little clip and hose off, throw that to the side, okay, and then you put your bag straight on the back of your saw piece like that. Guys, be mindful, if you are hooking up a vacuum cleaner to this saw, okay, same deal again. Remember, dust extraction comes up from the top. Hook your hose up as you have done, but be mindful of the direction this sits, because at the moment when you pull down on your saw, so that saw is locked into place, this actually sits directly up. So any vacuum or any vacuum hoses and stuff that you put on need to have that ability to flex around when you're cutting, because otherwise it's really going to, it really makes it quite tricky to keep things aligned and where they should be. I've had issues with bevel cuts and the vacuum hose pulling it over to one side and making the cuts crooked. So be mindful of that. Keep that in mind too. If you're finding your bevels aren't working for a longer distance or for whatever reason, could be the vac hose making that little bit of difference and causing some issues there. So yeah, as you can see, when it's unlocked, it's not too bad. It sticks out to the side, but when it's actually fully down and you're cutting away, this hose is sitting up in the air. So yeah, just be mindful of that connection. All right. So that's the dust extraction. That's kind of a bit of a downfall and stuff I felt has been on the saw. Especially with these days, a lot of pretty much all the timber is treated these days with some sort of a substance. So I find myself still cutting timber without thinking about putting a mask on, a respirator, or even something to do dust extraction with. So I've got that little 80-volt vacuum cleaner, which I normally hook up. And we put that on a couple of Mac packs, hook it straight into the dust extraction. It kind of works. It does the job quite nicely. It does all right. Something that I have seen happen a lot with this saw is that when people have tensioned up the bevel at the front, okay, so the bevel to swing left or right, so not your angle, your bevel, left or right, all right? When they've tensioned that back up, it's snapped, okay? So I just wanted to go through quickly what it's made of and how they've done it, okay? Just to try and give you guys a bit of an understanding of why it might snap and why it might break. Now, so far so good, fingers crossed. I haven't had any issues with that. I understand why guys would do it, because it's a question of how it feels in the hand. So the front knob, you can tighten that up quite considerably. You can have it nice and firm, whereas the next knob along, which is your bevel knob, you can get that firm, but it'll always feel flexible. All right. Why though? Why does it feel flexible? Let's go into a bit more detail. I'll flip the saw over. I'll show you the underneath, and we'll have a bit of a chat about what's going on inside to help guys who won't already have the saw and just things to be mindful of. And hopefully Makita will see this and pull their fingers out and sort it out, because it's a bit of rubbish, to be honest. Right, bear with me. I'll flip the saw and we'll have a bit more of a chat about it. Alright guys, so I've got the saw flipped over, okay? We're just going to have a look under it. So obviously that's the underside of your arm. You can see what's going on here. That's your little pop piece for your little cutouts and stuff. So that's what drops it in or out, okay? As you can see how that works, that's fair enough, alright? Now this rod here, that's the one that takes you down to the back. This is what tensions your bevel, okay? So as you rotate this, you'll see it slowly start to turn, okay? So that's turning now, okay? That distance there it's quite a distance to actually send it all the way to the back. So just be mindful. There's a good length of bar there to get resistance on, okay? To shift that around. But what's happening at the other hand? This will be interesting. Where that rod comes all the way through, down to the bevel. All right, let's have a chat about that. Now, we're not doing anything too crazy here. We're not pulling the saw apart. We're just going to undo a couple of cover screws here. I'm not going to undo nuts and bits and pieces and void warranties or whatever they might say. I'm just going to open this up so you guys can have a bit of a look-see. and see what's going on. And if you're ever wondering what that little lever is on the back of your saw, why that's there, this one here, it's so you can go a little bit past, so you can go past 45. You can actually go to 48. Let's have a quick look. So now I've got that cover plate off, guys. That's your point, that's your rod, that's what comes through. So this little screw here screws into the rod and creates a locking plate. All right, when you tension that, that pulls the rod back that way, all right, and then it hits this plate, and this plate is what obviously holds it into position. So there's a fair bit going on there, and there's a fair bit of reliance on this little threaded screw, okay? And I think that's where a lot of times when you over tension it, that's where it's popping, all right? So the reason why there is a bit of flex and play in that second one is because of the distance from the front to the back to get that bevel to lock in place. So yeah, I'm not sure whether Makita are going to revisit this and have a look at it. Surely, I know for a fact they've had quite a few warranty claims on this. But in saying that, I've had this saw 2 years. I haven't had any issues. It does depend on the guys who are using it. If you've got rough guys out there who are using your saw, make sure you clarify with them. I said, mate, do not over tension that bevel because you will snap it, all right? Just tell them, just put it out right, especially if it's your saw, you got to look after it. So, yeah. Some of them may be weaker, like, I don't know, there might have been a batch where they're absolutely rubbish and it doesn't take much and they snap on. Like, it could be the case as well. And I'm not here to say anyone's right or wrong or anyone's done something wrong to do something. Things, issues happen in products all the time. There's no doubt about it. Batches fucking flare up and have problems, and, you know, and sometimes you do just buy a lemon. So, yeah. But anyway, that's my thoughts on that. That's probably one of the bigger issues. There's that one, and there's obviously your dust extraction too. So making sure your dust extraction is improved. I think Makita is very important as well. So yeah, a couple other quick little things I didn't know about the saw that I wasn't aware of until actually relatively recently. These little holes on these side braces, okay, they can actually support the little clamp as well. So you can actually put the clamp further out. So if you are cutting a bevel cut, all right, and you find the clamp is in the way because you don't like holding the saw from this angle or whatever, and you want to clamp it, extend your little braces out the side, okay, and you can clamp it from that side. It works on both sides, doesn't matter, and away you go. Something that has really got me stuffed though is what is this hole here. If anyone knows, throw it in the comments or let me know. What the heck is this hole for? Is there an attachment? Is there something to add to it? I'm curious. G'day guys, let's change a blade on an LS002G. First things first, make sure your battery's out. Safety's first, okay? I slide it out a little bit to give myself a bit of room and make sure my blades can move up and down. Find your Allen key, which is at the front of your rail. It slots in there nicely, so pull that one out. Undo this piece here first, undo the Allen key bolt up the top here. Undo that one, spin it off and spin it off, spin it off. Alright, that releases your plastic guard. Plastic guard spins off out of the way. Job done. I can actually notch that up there and it locks in nicely in place. Allen key straight back onto your blade. Find your button at the back. Your button is at the back of the motor here, alright? You can see it clear as day. Rotate it around till you need to find your happy spot, alright? And you undo. Alright, so you're going, spinning that way. Alright, so you're spinning in a clockwise direction. Undo that one. Cover comes off. Get your blade, whatever you want to do. New blade on. Slide it straight back up. Now be mindful, there is actually little tin plate and stuff in under here that can get caught on. So as you lift it up, just be mindful of where you're sliding it all in. Alright, and eventually it should sit in there nice for you. Put your little washer back on. Alright, do up your nut. Alright, and this whole time, remember, opposite direction as well, so anti-clockwise to tighten it back up again. Right, lock on, find your little lock pin, slide that down nice and tight, nice and firm, beautiful. Drop down your guard, slide it up, screw that back up, get some tension on it, and you're good to go. Battery back in, cut away guys, too easy. Hope that's helped. So guys, is it a pants downable tool or not? Let's have a little think about it. The whole idea of the As I See It is to decide whether an item or tool or a subject or something is pants downable. So pants down instead of hands down the best thing, pants down the best thing. That's how I'm rolling with it. So today, let's see if this little saw gets the pants down. Today, no luck there, Makita. Sorry guys, you didn't get the pants down on this one, and for all honesty, it's probably a lot to do with that dust distraction issue, okay, and that constant concern that I know I personally will have with that bevel adjuster and making sure it doesn't snap on me, because obviously once that's gone, the saw's pretty much useless. Yeah, so we'll go no pants down for this one, and I reckon the next one that comes out will have those improvements done, and 100% I reckon I'll be dropping my DAX again to give them a pants down approval thumbs up. Righto guys, thanks again for watching. I genuinely appreciate all your little feedback and stuff like that too. If there is something that you see that I use or have in my tool belt or whatever like that on any of the channel, then be sure to sing out and let me know if you want me to do an As I See It on that, or if there's a topic you want me to bring up or something like that. Love to throw my opinions out there. Obviously they're not always right or correct or anything, but they are mine and I love sharing it with you guys. So yeah, that's why we're here. Build on legends, you have a cracker of a week, and we'll chat again soon, eh? Alright, see you guys, all the best.